Hey guys, my name is Julia and I'm one of your teen services librarians over at the main library on Goodwood. We are back with STEM shenanigans and it's going to be a hoot because we are dissecting owl pellets. Supplies that accompany this video are available at the main library in a limited capacity. Okay, so to dissect an owl pellet, you're going to need your owl pellet, 2 craft sticks, 2 skewers, a paintbrush, a bone identification chart, gloves. I would recommend a mask. It's not required, but I would recommend it, and something to cover your workstation. I'm using paper towels. Use whatever works for you. Your first step is that you want to go ahead and put some gloves on. Our owl pellets have all been fully sterilized, but these are still puke. Don't be gross and do this barehanded. Right? Once you've got your gloves on, you want to go ahead and if you're masking up, do that. I'm personally doing it because I'm not super keen on breathing in vomit particles. So next step, you want to go ahead and unwrap your owl pellet. And what we want to do here is we want to break things apart very carefully. We don't want to damage any of the bones that are inside. I want to make sure you keep them in one piece so we can better identify what they are. Okay, so when you go ahead and find a bone, you want to very carefully pick it up. You can use your paintbrush to dust off any extra debris on it. Not too much on this one. And then we're just going to set it aside in a safe place so we can put together everything to identify afterwards. So I'm working on mine and I just thought this was kind of interesting. You can actually see the whiskers from this guy in here. Okay, so I've got it down to the final bone, which is the skull. I'm not actually going to take more off because if I do, I'm going to start to break apart the back parts of the skull where the bones aren't completely fused together. So we're just going to go ahead and set this with the rest of the bones. Move out our supplies here. Okay, and so here are the bones that we ended up collecting. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and use this bone identification chart I've got to kind of separate out what looks like it should be in the right place. Like obviously this one's the skull. We've got a mandible here, so we'll set that as a separate one, and so on. Okay, all the bones are sorted into loose categories. I've got bits of the skull here, mandibles here, hind legs here, forearms here, pelvic, ribs, vertebrae as the kind of category. So if you go ahead and look at the chart, this is pretty easy to see what's going on. We've got a pretty clear example of a rodent skull here. And due to the size, I actually think this is probably a rat. But as you can tell, my owl was a greedy guy and he ended up actually getting what looks like a whole rat and then maybe a mouse or two or maybe a second rat. There's pieces of multiple animals in here. So we can see that we've got multiple hind legs involved and a couple of different pelvic bones. Okay, so now it's time for the science. There are over 200 species of owls in the world, and they live everywhere except for Antarctica, part of Greenland, and a couple of islands in the southern and Arctic oceans. All owls are carnivorous predators, which means that they only eat meat and they hunt for it. So when owls are out hunting, they're going to look for something small like a mouse or a shrew that they can grab up pretty easily. When they grab it, they're actually going to swallow it whole. Once the unfortunate prey is in the owl's stomach, though, not all of it can digest. The meat and the organs will, but the bones and the fur can't. So they're going to sit in the owl's stomach and then until they get compacted and the owl throws it up as a pellet. It's pretty much exactly like how a cat hacks up a hairball. But owls aren't the only bird of prey that will make pellets. Plenty of other types like kestrels and crows also make pellets. And when you look at pellets, you can actually tell which species of owl they came from or which bird of prey they came from just based on how they look. So looking at ours, you can tell that we actually have barn owl pellets. If you have any questions or comments about today's activity, holler at us. Our phone number is 231-3770, or you can leave a comment on this video. Better yet, tag us on Instagram and show us what you discovered. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to see you next time.